and welcome back to my channel. It's hard to believe it is already May 2020. That's crazy to me. It feels like 5 months. Like we're like on the 5th month of 2020 already. Like we're in the middle of month 2 of quarantine already, I think. So it started for me on March 13th, so it's been almost like 2 full months. What? Anyway, there are some positives though. It wasn't until like February, end of February, or like early March that I started to read this year, because I didn't read a book since November up until that point. So I went a whole 3 or 4 months without reading. But I'm starting to come out of that slump, and while this past month wasn't the best, I was still able to read 3 books. And honestly, I'd say I had a pretty good reading month. They all had good ratings. I didn't have any issues. And I'm also like in the mood to read everything. Specifically rereading. Like I just can't help but look at my shelf of read books and want to read like all of them. And I don't know what that is. I don't usually get in that much of a mood to reread everything. Like I want to reread Throne of Glass and like finally finish it. So like that's a good feeling to have, because then I can finish Tower of Dawn and Kingdom of Ash. But I also want to like reread the ACOTAR trilogy and, well, I guess finish it too. And I want to reread the Warriors series and the Lunar Chronicles. But I'm glad I'm in this mood to read everything, because these 2 shelves I have that you are now sitting on are very full. So if I want to read everything, then I can read these. And then I will allow myself to go off of a book buying ban. It's been painful, but I'm managing it. Anyway, I should stop my rambling about my reading slump and now my reading mood and talk about the books I read this past month. So the first book I read, and I'm sure you guys already know this because I both reviewed it in another video and I did a little bit of a reading vlog with it, was Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I'm not going to say too much about it, as I've already talked about it in 2 videos. But it was a 5-star read, and it took me half the month to read it, but definitely worth it. Like, I wanted to savor it, and honestly, if I had read it in like a day or 2, I would not have remembered anything, because so much happens. I loved the world building and the characters. I loved all the characters in their own way. They were so well written, and they just felt like real people. I feel like my favorite characters would have to be... I'm assuming most of you guys have read it, so I'm just going to list off my favorite characters. Even though it's essentially all of them, I feel like I really gravitated towards Matthias, Nina, Inej, and like, I don't know, like, I love Lylan too, like, I don't know. But that doesn't mean I don't like the other characters. I really do like Jesper and Kaz, but I guess I just didn't like relate to them as much as some of the other characters. I don't know. But I just love them all, honestly. They're so great, and the banter was so much fun in this book. So definitely read the duology, I beg of you. I am shaking you. I'm not, but like, I am. The next book I read was, I think, a 4.5-star read? A 4-star read? But it was still good. It just, yeah, it was still good. Just not 5-star worthy. I don't know how to explain like how I know to give 5 stars. It's just kind of like, you know, it's just a vibe. You're like, yeah, that one's a 5-star read. It doesn't have to be well written. Even like, I've given 5 stars to books that are like probably really poorly written, but there was just something about them that like crawled into my heart and was like, I'm gonna live here now. And I'm like, okay, so it became a 5-star read, if that makes sense. But this next 4-star read is Hyperbole and a Half by Allie Brosh. This was a reread for me. I don't know, I'm still holding it. It was a reread for me, and it's also a graphic novel. I was just kind of in a mood for something that would be funny after Crooked Kingdom, and that book is very funny. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, which is probably most, I've heard it talked about before, but it's just been a while, and I think I've only heard one booktuber talk about it. But it's basically just a bunch of little stories about her life and some of her experiences. And, like, some of them, well, most of them, are just completely hilarious. And then there are some others that are a little bit more serious and talk about her experiences with depression and some of her identity issues. But she talks about them in a nice, like, humorous way, and it kind of just lightens it up a bit. I found a lot I could relate to in it, and it was just kind of comforting to read it. Yeah, I think I rated that one like 4.5 stars. It was definitely worth rereading. I could not remember any of it, and I'm so glad I decided to pick it up.
And the last book I decided to
And the last book I decided to read was 1,000 Beginnings and Endings, which was edited by Ellen O. and Elsie Chapman. It was written by 16 authors. It is a YA Asian anthology, and it essentially is just myths and legends of all of these different Asian cultures, but written as like YA stories. So it's basically these authors are taking stories that they really relate to or love in their own cultures and kind of just writing their YA take on it. And it was so much fun because they would write it in so many different like genres, which made it so exciting every time you would turn to a new story. So like there was like sci-fi, and there was like romance and fantasy, and then some of them were more contemporary, and a few of them were written like the same way you'd think like a legend or myth would be written, and it was just so much fun. And I think it's like really interesting to read some of the stories from these other cultures. Yeah, it was just so much fun, and I was so glad to pick it up. I think I gave it 4.5, 5 stars as well, I think. I rated it higher than Hyperbole and a half in my head, so maybe 4.5. I really had a lot of fun reading it though, and I highly suggest picking it up. It was a book I just saw lying on the shelf, and I thought, hey, that'd be cool to pick up, and I picked it up, and I haven't heard anyone talk about it. So it'd be really cool, like, I don't know, pick it up, so I can hear what your thoughts are on it. But yeah, that's what I read this month. I definitely didn't read as much as some other people have read. I heard people posting that they like read 10 books, 33 books, 33 books! How would you guys do that? But I don't know, I read 3 books and I'm coming out of a reading slump, so I'm pretty happy about that. And I feel like May is going to go a lot better because it's only May 3rd. I'm late to recording this. And I'm already just about to finish my first book, and like, I mean, I'm sure people have probably read way more by now, but for me that's pretty good. So I'm hoping to get 5 books this month. That's my goal. If I get more, great. If I don't meet it, I'll be a little disappointed in myself, but just reading it all is fine. But yeah, let me know down below how many books you read in April, and is there anything on your TBR? Right now I'm not planning on a TBR. I'm just gonna try to read whatever I can this month. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay safe. Bye guys.